So we settle for the details of what we have for you this exciting Wednesday afternoon. We are starting from the court because this decision has far-reaching consequences for celebrities that promote alcoholic beverages. Now, the Supreme Court has, by a majority decision, upheld a Food and Drugs Authority directive that bars celebrities from endorsing alcoholic drinks in a lawsuit brought by the CEO of Black Culture Music, Mark Darlington Osai, ending a highly publicized 19-month legal battle. Today's ruling by the Supreme Court effectively means that well-known personalities or professionals are perpetually barred from appearing in an advertisement promoting alcoholic drinks. Delivering an abridged version of the ruling at the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Gertrude Togonu said the FDA directive does not contravene the Constitution. Member of our Legal Affairs team, Latif Idris, was in court and he has come to with this report.
5-2 decision read by the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Togonu here at the Supreme Court. She said that the directive by the Foods and Drugs Authority does not contravene Article 17.1 and 17.2 of the 1992 Constitution, as the plaintiff sought to put out when he petitioned the Apex Court. Speaking to journalists after the ruling, the representative of the Ghana Music Alliance who spoke to the journalists said this ruling by the Supreme Court would not stop them from continuing with their advocacy to get a win-win situation for the Music Association and the Foods and Drugs Authority.
The outcome was not to win or lose. The outcome was to have a better interpretation of what we can do and what we cannot do. And in this case, we still don't know what we cannot do or what we can do. So we'll definitely still go to FD and talk it out and see if we can have a better structure of what should be done or what can be done, what cannot be done. I mean, personally, if there was a commercial advertising or advocating for kids to drink, that would not be good, or seeing it in a certain way. But if we can have any other means where we can safely work with the brands without really getting to the kids, that's also fine. So we can definitely sit down with the FDA and see how that can be done.
George Kwe, who is a radio show host, spoke to journalists after the ruling by the Supreme Court and said that the FDA is already losing the fight, and he expects them to call the celebrities together to sit down and have a dialogue on this particular matter and not be at war.
Really, here's a fight that the FDA is losing already. Because if I attend an event and it's being sponsored by, what did you win? If I sit on radio and I read an LPM, what did you do? You understand? And then they would say you cannot put an alcoholic beverage billboard within 200 meters of a school. When I'm taking my kids to school, do we fly? Do we fly from my house to that school? Do you know the number of alcoholic beverage billboards that I'll see on the road? When we stop in traffic, do I know what my kids are reading? So did you win or lose? It's in the newspapers. My kids will read newspapers. So really, what did you gain? I think the FDA really need to, I think they're in some kind of a box. It would be good if they came out and let us sit, let us judge, and let us find a common ground. Because at the end of the day, they aren't the only ones who have kids. We have kids too, and we'd like to protect those kids as well.
On his part, Labaran Musa, who is the director of Program Vision for Alternative Development, said since the FDA's directive became enforced, the extent of exposure to alcoholic beverages has significantly reduced and public health is already winning.
Public health have won over, over interests of some few individuals and who are just, trying to amass wealth for themselves and not for the interests of the young people who are looking up to them for, for their interests. But when FDA have come with this law, we should applaud the FDA and then back them to do more to support public health.
Joseph Benny, who is Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs at the Foods and Drugs Authority, speaking with journalists, welcomed the ruling by the Supreme Court and said the authority will begin to take steps to plug all the loopholes that celebrities could maneuver to get away with endorsing alcoholic beverages.
If it's within the space of Ghana, yes, but we are dealing with it. It's not all, once in a while one of it filters through, but we are dealing with that. And very soon we'll have a clarity on that. With this very decision backing us, we'll very soon have a bit of clarity on that, because some DSU, they claim that it is not coming from Ghana. But we know when we watch the World Cup, they never advertise.
To what limit?
So that is what will happen in Ghana as well. No matter where you are operating from, once you are airing within the space of Ghana, you cannot advertise alcohol using a celebrity or a well-known personality. So we'll tackle one at a time. So if we know that this is one source, we'll deal with it. If we get to know the other sources, we'll handle them as well.
The Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tokonu, only read the abridged version of the ruling and said that the full version of the ruling will be available come Friday, June 21, 2024. From the Supreme Court, Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
So we want to try to understand this decision taken by the courts. We want to understand it much better. And member of our Legal Affairs Desk, Latif Idris, was in court, sat through the court ruling, and he joins me in the studio. So Latif, first, let's understand the people we are talking about here. Famous people, I mean, personalities that have following. And then someone is saying and say they are celebrities. Who are these people that this ruling affects?
So, Elton, you are one of them. You are affected. You are well known. You are on television. People know you. Your name is out there. Your face is out there. So you carry some weight. You are able to influence a section of the Ghanaian population. So you are barred from endorsing any alcoholic beverage. So
and also advertising for
advertising, featuring in commercials, and standing on platform to promote any beverage that is alcoholic. You are barred from doing so. So
and it would not matter which time this advert is shown on television, for example.
Very good. So you know there is a ban on when we can put out advertisements that promote alcoholic beverages.
I understand it's after 8 p.m.
After 8 p.m. It doesn't matter whether it is at 12 a.m. Once you are a celebrity, you are not allowed to feature in that.
So walk us through why the court came to this ruling.
So the plaintiff, when he went to the Supreme Court, wanted 4 reliefs. I just want to run us through the reliefs. 1, that's a declaration that on a true and proper interpretation of Article 17.1 and 17.2 of the Constitution, which guarantees equality before the law, and which also went on to say that no one has to be discriminated against. He makes the case that this directive by the FDA, by extension, is discriminating against people who are well known. Because the Constitution says you don't have to discriminate against anybody. We are all equal before the law.
Right.
Then the FDA comes and say, if you are well known, don't feature in any commercial. So his first relief is that this is discriminatory and that the Supreme Court should take action against the FDA. Second, a declaration that the same provision of the Article 17.1 and 17.2, and so that he wants now the Supreme Court to declare the directive by the FDA now void and unenforceable.
Right.
That is 2. 3, an order striking down the directive by the FDA completely, so that the Supreme Court will now tell the FDA that this your directive is in contravention with the Constitution, and so as the apex court of the land, we are clearing it off your books. It doesn't exist to begin with. That is 3. And then the last relief he wanted was an order of perpetual petition, perpetual injunction on that directive by the FDA. FDA's assigns FDA agents who in the future may want to maneuver and find other ways of coming to the end of this same matter that they want the Supreme Court to deal with. So he wanted the Supreme Court to bar FDA and their assigns and agents from carrying out any other different route of arriving at the same end, if you like. And then, so these were the reliefs he wanted the Supreme Court to rule in his favor. But then Justice Tokonu said, I mean, it was a 7-panel, 5 ruled against him and 2 ruled for him. And so majority decision, he lost.
Right. So basically from today going forward, any known person is barred from ever fusing any advertisement that promote alcoholic products.
Yes, once you are well known, and maybe on Friday when the full ruling comes out,
We'll be able to understand
better,
much better.
Who is well known per the ruling of the Supreme Court. As we sit here, all we know is, or are the people who feature in movies, and not all people who feature in movies are really popular or well known. Some are really at the background, you don't really get to see them. So,
but Latif, I'm interested in whether the court also consider the fact that if they are seeking to protect the young people of this country from patronizing alcoholic products, because they tend to be influenced by what they see on television, here on radio, did they also avert their mind to the fact that, I mean, people do what they want to do, not because they are influenced by anybody. And so people possibly are patronizing the very products they are being protected from, not because they've been influenced by a celebrity, but because society has pushed them into doing that.
Yeah, partly true. And you would also understand that advertisement has a purpose. There is a reason why corporate organizations go into carrying out advertisement on radio, television, and the newspapers, because it gets results. Right. Advertisement gets results. It stimulates minds. So if you see someone who is well known, who is respected in society, who stands on a certain platform and says, this thing is good, I am part of it, I consume it, definitely you
get
have
people to follow.
You have a section of the population whose mind will be stimulated and say, okay, let me go and give it a try. So that is why the Supreme Court deemed it fit that once you will some kind of influence in society,
you are barred from doing so.
You don't.
But again, the ultimate product here is the alcoholic product.
Yeah.
And that is what they are seeking to sort of protect the young people from patronizing until they are at a certain age where they can make certain decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
And now in Ghana, the FDA, they've enforced the directive which says that media houses can only broadcast alcoholic products after 8 p.m. And media houses, they've been complying with it. Yeah. But you know that in Ghana, we are not only, I mean, our options are many. There are satellite televisions that are far from Ghana, and people pay to subscribe and watch their products. Yeah. And you see alcoholic products being advertised almost every day on some of these satellite televisions. What is the FDA doing now? Because that will be seen as discriminatory in terms of enforcing the law on media owners that you can easily see and hold them accountable. Even some of these satellite televisions, they have offices here in Ghana.
Yeah, you are right, Elton. And that question came up, and we put it to the Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs of the FDA, and he says that with this ruling by the Supreme Court, it's going to widen their scope, and they will go after these organizations who have taken advantage, and once in a while they put in these advertisements at the blind side. But with this ruling, he says they are going to go after these organizations. Right. We can take a listen to him.
With the Ministry of Finance, especially the Customs Division of GRA, to work on this, there's an LI in process to deal with alcohol in Ghana. So we are working on all fronts. So very soon the LI will come out and we'll see what we are doing with the other aspects of it, making the products even available on the market in terms of even the size, the pack size. Since it's not out, I can just say that a certain minimum pack size would not be allowed on the market when the LI comes. So we are working on all fronts to ensure that this issue is appropriately, comprehensively dealt with.
The pack size of alcoholic beverages?
Yes. A certain minimum pack size would not be allowed on the market very soon when the LI comes out.
Right, so Latif, before I let you go, the Supreme Court also has by a unanimous decision affirmed a court appeal decision to continue the criminal trial of former Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni, from where Justice Hononuega left off. Justice Kwesi Anochi-Jima, who was assigned to the case when Justice Hononuega retired, ruled for the case to start from scratch, arguing that the record, as he found it, had been tainted because of allegations of unfairness against the previous judge. The Attorney General thought otherwise and appealed the decision at the Court of Appeal, which reversed the High Court decision. And as the case continued from where Justice Hononuega left off, lawyers of Stephen Opuni filed a counter-appeal at the Supreme Court challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal. Latif was in court. So Latif, the court came to the decision that the case should continue.
Yeah.
What reason did they assign?
It was brief. I mean, it was brief. I mean, she came in with the bench, and it took, I think, less than a minute to say that the appeal has been dismissed by the apex court. So now the case will continue from where Justice Honyanuga left off. We already have Seidu Agongo's fifth witness who has already mounted the witness box and is being cross-examined. And so at the next agenda date, he will continue with the cross-examination. And then, I mean, this matter will also be brought to a conclusion.
All right, and tomorrow we have the AG continue with his cross-examination of Mr. Dakwa.
In the box.
All right. Thank you very so much for coming through for us. Latif Idris is our court correspondent. And folks, this is a pause here on Joy News. We have a lot coming your way. We're going to talk about the National Intelligence Bureau survey that put Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, the energy minister, ahead of everybody who is bidding to partner the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for the NPP's ticket. When we come back, we'll deal with that matter, plus take you to the hospitals where the strike by laboratory technicians have left a lot of people stranded. When we come back, we'll deal with these and more. We'll take a short break. This is a pause here on Joy News. You're welcome back to the show. This is a pause here on Joy News with me, Elton Brobe. Now we take you to the election headquarters because Matthew Opoku Prempeh, the Minister for Energy and Member of Parliament for Menchia South, is widely preferred among party members as a running mate to the MPP presidential candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for the 2024 general election. That's the conclusion of a National Intelligence Bureau survey conducted nationwide. According to the report secured by Joy News, Dr. Prempeh, also known as Napo, is the preferred choice, especially among constituency polling station executives who constitute the largest segment of the sample, corresponding to 36.2 and 32.6 respectively. On your screen now are the findings of the National Intelligence Bureau survey that they conducted this month of June. Now, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh Napo's preference stands at 76.2%, followed keenly by, not really keen, I mean, if you want to look at his election, we say there's a landslide victory. And then you have Yao Osei Aduchum, the Minister for Education, Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe, also in the Ashanti region, 10.16%. There are others, I mean, all put together, they make up 4.5% of the preference by the members of the party, about over 5,000 people sampled. Osei Mensah, also former majority leader, Member of Parliament for Swami, also in the Ashanti region, also came with 3.38%. The other person is the current Chief of Staff, Fremo Opare, 3.4%. She's also from the Ashanti region, former MP. And of course, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, a Member of Parliament for Bekwai in the Ashanti region, Joseph Osei, with 2.27%. So this is the outcome. And of course, best pair for Bawumia, Napo versus Aduchum, and it's a landslide preference. 84.2% for Matthew Opoku Prempeh, also known as Napo, and of course 15.7% for the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Aduchum. And this is the outcome of a survey put together by the National Intelligence Bureau. So is a party foot soldiers or grassroots? Do they prefer a female to partner Dr. Bawumia? Only 6% of them said yes. Now, overwhelming 94% said they want a male to partner Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. This is coming from those sampled in this survey. 6% went in for a female person to partner the vice president. 94% said they want a male to partner the vice president. And so the preference, they also asked the question about, so which region do you prefer that the running mate is selected from? 92.6% said they want the running mate to come from the Ashanti region. So the party is in agreement. The Ashanti region should produce the running mate for to partner Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for election 2024. The Eastern region came second, 1.84, Central 1.5, Greater Accra 1.4, Volta, all of them doing under 1%, with the Upper West region, the last in the region sampled at 0.04%. So there's an overwhelming agreement within the MPP that a running mate should come from the Ashanti region. No wonder the two leading, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh and Yao Osei Aduchum, all from the Ashanti region as members of Parliament for Menchia South and Bosomtwe respectively. So are these reliable, outcomes that the party should work with? Should the party stick with the findings put together by the National Intelligence Bureau and then work with it? Let me bring in somebody who knows this better. In fact, the author of the book, Dr. Baumia, and the modern Vice President of Ghana, Professor H.S. Kanku, joins me via phone. Professor, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
Good afternoon, Elton. Thanks for having me.
Right. So about 3 weeks ago, me and you had this discussion in the studio. We analyzed the chances. We did a SWOT analysis of all those that, in our estimation, were the front runners for the MPP running mate slot. Now, per the findings put together or released by the National Intelligence Bureau, it is quite, in an election, in terms of the score, you would say that this is a landslide victory for Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. And the conclusion the party executives came to is that Dr. Prempeh's popularity is due to his charisma and also the fact that he's able to galvanize the base of the party. I mean, how much weight will you put on these findings by the Intelligence Bureau to inform the decision of the flag bearer to settle on the person they claim that the party rank and file are in for?
Well, if you talk about how much weight, I mean, I'm not going to be discussing a lot of the methodological and other things associated with the operational side of the research because it's something that's just come out and we're just digesting it. But if you're just talking from the perspective of the narrative that it creates, the buzz that it creates and whether this really should feed into what the current vice president, the presidential candidate of the NPP should be doing. I mean, it definitely does increase the amount of attention that the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, is getting, and it keeps him within the conversation. But it also indicates, to some extent, the popularity that he has within the party. And it's very important that when you're going into any election that you secure your base. It is the surefire way you can make sure that you're getting a certain consolidated or assured amount of support. And if you don't have that, I mean, really, you ain't going nowhere. So that definitely is something to consider. The fact that he's well liked within the party, the fact that his party credentials are bona fide. They run long and deep. He's been a member of parliament for a long time. His political capital and his political credentials are very deep and run for a long time within Ghana's political setting. So definitely the fact that he's going to be able to energize the base, and a lot of people within the party identify with him, it's a very good starting point.
Right, and then they say that this survey targeted MPP delegates, including national, regional, constituency, and polling station executives, utilizing the party's delegates album to ensure representative sample. The survey polled 5,116 party executives. Should this be conclusive enough to say that, I mean, there's no need to even consider the names? We should just go by what the party people think that this is what they want.
Yeah, I mean, if we control for the research and the veracity of it, which we have no doubt about, once that line has been crossed, and that's pretty a huge statement of support for the energy minister. It's not close. It's an overwhelming statement of approval and endorsement from the party base, and it shows two things. First of all, that he has a certain constituency within the party, that the number of people who are allegiance to him within the party is quite huge, and that he would not be perceived as somebody who is quote unquote an outsider, so to speak. And the legends and the stories of what Napo has done within the party are everywhere for everyone to see and hear about. If you do the research, the youth within the party, the number of people he's nurtured in the party, the support that he's given to the party structures, he's really established himself as a party aficionado through the sort of commitment and service that he's done to both the party and the government. So it is very important that there's a candidate who is selected, who is accepted within the party, because at the end of the day, you do want to consolidate your base, and that's the first point to start with, and then you get more. But of course, there's a governance imperative, and then there's an electoral imperative to the vice presidency. But as far as securing the loyalty of the party is concerned, I think that's one thing that Dr. Bawumia would be assured of when he selects him.
But would the candidature of Dr. Matupoku Prempeh, would this candidature be accepted by the generality of the Ghanaian public, knowing very well that we're going to a general election, not an election for only MPP folks?
Well, it's an important question. He's not, he's not new within a political system. He's been he's not a political neophyte. That's the word I was looking for. I mean, he's been a very major feature within our national politics and within the national psyche. In fact, as somebody who was at the helm of affairs during one of the biggest policy decisions, one of the most consequential policy initiatives, not just of the Kufuor administration, but in the history of this country, which is the free SHS, he was at the helm of it. So just think about it. In one of the most consequential, one of the most impactful, one of the most groundbreaking, or one of the major policy decisions within this country, in a sector that is very critical to the national development of this country. We all agree that education is the key, to really turn this country around, especially for the youth. He was at the helm of affairs during one of the biggest policy initiatives in our country's history. And so within that, he cannot be taken away from the history, the political story of both the Kufuor administration and definitely of this country is written. And to that extent, he is a major quantity, he's a major factor. And we all know that this was a trump card policy of the current administration. They needed somebody who was a doer, somebody who was results-oriented, somebody who would be able to go on the ground and get something accomplished. And he did that. I do think that that is something that he brings to the table. He moved from there and went to the energy ministry as well. But we can tell that through his administration, he's really been a very consensus-building figure. I mean, if you talk to the stakeholders within the education ministry, this particular policy would not have been implemented without the sort of consensus building that we needed from a big leader like that. So, yes, I mean, the jury is still out there as to how the Ghanaian public will receive him, but I do not think that he's been a non-factor within our national politics. He's been a very major contributor to the education sector and to the country's political narrative.
But Prof, opening him up to the public discussion, and there's a fact that he's had his own baptism of fire, especially in the energy sector. Recently, I mean, he came under fire for suggesting that people should develop their own timetable if they have the view that the country is going through power crisis and doomsday was back. I mean, people took him to the cleaners. They were not happy with the way he responded to that question. They wanted him to show empathy, but rather they thought he was showing a lot of arrogance in terms of dealing or responding to the issue of the crisis in the energy sector, because everybody felt it. And this report even sums it up when it says that Dr. Prempeh's current role as energy minister, the ongoing power crisis in Ghana, would impact his candidacy. Therefore, the government may need to implement necessary measures to solidify his competence in managing the energy sector, thereby enhancing the party's prospect in the 2024 general elections. And this morning, he was in Parliament responding to the question whether we are in doomsday or not. We'll bring that to our viewers. But clearly, if this is the only thing they were able to highlight, despite all his service, his contribution to public service, then clearly the issue of energy is key. And his conduct, would it have any effect if he's selected to partner the vice president as he appeals to the generality of the public?
Yeah, thank you very much, Elton. Yes, definitely we do have a major conversation around energy in this country. There are challenges within the sector. We are all experiencing it, and as the sector minister, it does put him in the bullseye or puts him in, in the center of the course around that. If you talk about the response given, put it different that, yes, there are times that the conversation gets partisan, and so maybe it was that context. But definitely there will have to be, he would have to come up with explanations regarding how this country is managing its energy sector, how they are making sure that there's energy self-sufficiency and that the current problems with energy instability is addressed. I do think that he's mentioned or he's taking steps to show or to demonstrate how these things are being addressed. And so once he's elected, is something that will definitely come up strongly in this campaign. But one of the things that he's definitely going to bring to the table is executive experience. When you're looking for a vice president, what do you want? Is a vice president who has just executive experience, or not just intelligence or competency, but that this is somebody who has executive experience as well. It is very conversant with problems experiencing, knows what the problems are, and has a very good view of layland view, a broad view of what really the issues are within the country. And he has been at the center of making sure that those issues are being solved. And so I think that when you're looking for a VP, you do want somebody who would be able to step into your shoes and on day one and be able to hit the ground running. And if you look at that imperative, that's something that you could say that he definitely would be able to bring to the table. He does exhibit some of the same qualities that the current VP has in terms of both of them being results-oriented and go-get it. And I do think that that's something that we can associate with him. Hopefully, he brings us for the next year, probably as VP candidate as well.
Just two issues so that I can let you go, Professor Echi. The overwhelming majority of respondents, 92.2%, believe that the running mate should come or should be selected from the Ashanti region, widely regarded as the party's stronghold. With this at the back of the presidential candidate's mind, it will appear to me that even if somebody is more qualified, more popular, more appealing, once you don't come from the Ashanti region, you are out of the selection race.
Well, LT, you've got to remember that before you get into government, you need to be elected first. So definitely there's going to be an electoral permutation or an electoral dynamic to it. Listen, at the end of the day, this thing is about numbers. Okay, and so every candidate is going to have their eye on the ball to make sure that they get the candidate who is going to give them the best possible return in terms of the numbers. And if you look at that and you see the research and you see the numbers, then obviously you are looking at somebody who is going to be able to churn out those numbers and give you the figures in order for you to cross the finishing line before you even begin talking about governance. So I just think that it's a double advantage for him. That first of all, he does have the political, the legislative, and the executive experience to be able to step into the shoes. But then in addition to that, there's that double advantage of the fact that we don't need to belabor the point. He comes from the stronghold of the region. He's a scion of the Ashanti royal tradition. And in terms of that, there's a lot of affinity that people from the stronghold in the Ashanti region have towards him. That's definitely a huge advantage that he brings to the table in terms of the electoral advantage. So, it's something that we definitely cannot ignore. And maybe that works to the advantage of the candidate as well, selecting somebody from their stronghold.
And my final question will be preferred gender of running mates. 94% says that they are in for a male running mate. Only 6% settled for a female running mate. It looks like in the MPP, they are in no mood for a female to become a running mate anytime soon. Is it the case that no female has, graduated to that level yet?
Well, I wouldn't say so. I do think that we've come a long way in our democracy. Since 1992, we've seen a lot of changes and a lot of groundswell, watershed moments, I should say, as far as female political leadership is concerned. We've had chief justices, female chief justices. We have a presidential, vice presidential candidate from the opposition party. We've seen many women take those leadership positions, and I do think that those strides are being made. I mean, it would be nice to see a lot more of it because of the inspiration that it provides. But then at the end of the day, it's just one of those dynamics. Because you see, there's a lot of intersectionality when it comes to the selection of the VP. It's not just one thing that you focus your sight on. It's not monolithic in that sense. There is a lot of intersectional balances that have to be made. And so at the end of the day, you want to make sure that whilst you want to provide that inspiration, at the same time you're not just being one-dimensional in the selection. So I'm sure that time will come out. There will be other avenues to be able to demonstrate that sort of empowerment. But at this point, it just looks like the winds are pointing towards a particular direction.
Right, Prof, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Professor H.S. Kanku is a political communication expert. He's also the author of the book Dr. Bawumia and the Modern Vice President of Ghana. And we'll be looking at the outcome of a survey conducted by the National Intelligence Bureau that put Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh ahead of everybody in the race to become the running mate to Dr. Bawumia, who is the MPP's flag bearer for election 2024. We understand that the party campaign team is currently meeting. There are information we are picking that the announcement could come anytime soon because there appears to be some agreement regarding the person to partner Dr. Bawumia. And if the National Intelligence Bureau outcome is anything to go by, then the announcement will be made, and the name that will be mentioned clearly will be the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. We're keeping an eye on this space, and we'll bring you more as they unfold. But let's move away from the MPP and then take you to Parliament and possibly to the Upper West region. Because the Interior Minister, Henry Korte, he's been summoned to brief Parliament on Wednesday, June 26, on measures being taken by government to address the recent killing of private security personnel in Bole and Wa in the Upper West region. On Tuesday, the bodies of 2 night-duty security men were found with one burnt beyond recognition in Wa. My colleague Kenneth Jesse was in court and has this report.
The MP for Bole, Yusuf Suleimana, has called on the Interior Minister Henry Korte to put in place pragmatic measures to end the recent serial killings in his constituency. Now, he said the serial killings are gradually resulting in a self-imposed curfew, causing people to sleep early due to fear of possible attacks and killings. Now, the MP said the mysterious deaths plaguing the area is becoming a source of worry and needs urgent attention.
And I can report to you that the people of Bole are living in fears. Between May and June, 3 people lost their lives through serial killing. And this morning, I also read or I watched Metro TV and also heard that 2 people have been murdered in a very similar manner in Wa. The Minister of Interior last week sent some men and women to Bole to help curb this situation. However, I think that much more is needed to be able to avert the situation.
The MP for Wa Central, Rashid Pelpo, also said a similar situation is happening in his constituency and urged the Ghana Police Service and the Interior Minister to act quickly to avert more killings.
We are worried about the situation. We are worried that lives are lost and not much is done to investigate and bring out the murderers and perpetrators of this crime. And we are calling on the police to be up and doing. This is very basic to my thinking, that if people are killed and they are still in the same vicinity today and no arrest has been made yet, the Speaker, we think that some more has to be done.
Nsawam Adwejiri MP Frank Anadompre shared in the sentiments of his colleague MPs and appealed to the Speaker of Parliament to drag the Minister for Interior to the House for briefing on the security situation in both constituencies.
Also speak in solidarity. For lives to be lost is unacceptable, and our hearts go out there to my dear friend from Bole Bambwe. And so join your nation on the call for the Speaker, for the Minister to apprise the House on happenings. Just not too sure if we can give a date. You know, these are security matters, and often we have to give the Minister notification. Then, before they come to the House, they have to prepare. So I'll leave that discretion to the Speaker. But as soon as possible, I'm in total agreement. I'm saying the same thing. As soon as possible, the Minister should be programmed. But he also needs to be given time to prepare and come brief the House properly.
Now, the second Deputy Speaker of the House, Andrew Amwakon Esiama, urged the various MPs to liaise with the Interior Minister before briefing the House next week, Wednesday.
Very well. Let's table kindly inform the Minister to brief the House next week, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday. So that is my ruling.
Today's proceedings were delayed by more than 5 hours following two key developments. One is the hands-off hotel demonstration, which had most of the minority MPs in attendance, and the ambulance purchase trial involving minority leader Cassiel Atto-Forson. Reporting from the House of Legislature, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
All right, let's come to the studio now. Now, let's do some other stuff. Now, despite the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, being the foremost national science and technology institution mandated to carry out scientific and technological research for national development, government has not been forthright to meet the funding needs of the Council, making the operations of the Council more difficult. In a bid to bridge the funding gap, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, they've initiated an endowment fund to raise an amount of $20 million within the next 5 years. Staff members have committed to contribute 1% of their monthly salaries for the next 5 years towards the initiative. Chairman of the Fund Planning Committee of the CSIR, Professor Mike Osei Atwenebuana, and Director General of the CSIR, Professor Paul Bosu, joins me in the studio as we go into this matter more. Prof and Doctor, you're welcome. All right, so I mean, if you are raising funds on your own, then the situation must be very bad.
Well, I wouldn't say that the situation is very bad, but there's a need to do that because, of course, our salaries are paid. We get goods and services here and there, but there's far more that we can do than what we are getting now. So we really need that extra push to get us to do a lot of things that we have been established to do.
Right. So, I mean, help us to understand what exactly the center, what role do you play when we say research? What kind of research do you get yourself involved in?
Okay, so we carry out scientific research in order to develop technologies. And these are normally driven research that is being done. So once we are able to carry out this research, we will develop technologies. And these technologies are needed for the socioeconomic development of the country. For instance, you have industry that need technology to drive most of the operations. You need small and medium scale enterprise that need technologies to develop, to push their businesses. And one of our major duty is to carry out this research, develop technology to support the socioeconomic development of the country.
And can you take us through some of the works you've done that has helped in national development?
Okay, for instance, in terms of, let me give you the easiest that you can compare with. For instance, in terms of crops, we have what do you call it, agricultural research. So in most of our development of technologies, it is in the area of agricultural research, in the area of environment, in the area of industry. So if you take agri, for instance, there's a lot of seeds that we see that we plant. Maize, cassava, and most of these were actually developed by CSIR, by seed production. And then when you come to, in terms of food, there's a lot of processing of food that we have done. I'm sure you've heard something of need for food.
Right.
Yeah, it's CSIR that started the prototype for the development of these food. And then we then train people. So there are a lot of people who have been trained by CSIR in order to establish their own businesses to carry them out. So these are some of the important things that we have done.
So, Prof, purely in the agri sector that your work is mostly focused?
No, you know, we have 13 research institutes. Let me say about 8 of them are agri-based largely. But even with food research, which we would not classify as agri, but what they do, the processing, the preservation. But we also have the Building and Road Research Institute, where we are looking at the promotion of local materials for construction. So Building and Road Research Institute, we are famous there for the production of what we call the pozzolana cement. We are been researching into different types of cement production from local materials, bent clay bricks and all that. We have also the Industrial Research Institute, where we've done some designing and fabrication of some of the, if you like, the appropriate technology tools and equipment like oil palm shell, nut cracker, and all those things. So it's not only in agriculture, it's not even only in environment. But in environment, he is the director of CSIR, Water Research Institute. So we are into water quality analysis, all this thing about water pollution, we are there. At the Forestry Research Institute, we are into tree seed, carbon assessment, and so on and so forth. So agri is quite significant, but there are others that we do.
I'll come back to ask you about the agri sector. Just one question. Then we'll move to the fund and why you've taken upon yourself this initiative. The last time, I mean, you had a report out on what was causing so much carnage on our roads.
Yes.
Yes. And are you able to update us
on
it? And then whether the findings and recommendations have resulted in improvements in the accident rate? Because from what we are seeing, every day it goes up.
That is one of the key objectives, activities that the Building and Road Research does. You know, we have the National Accident Database. And what we do is that our scientists in the institute, they pick up all the data across the country, and we are able to model to determine, based on the data, the historical records, which areas in Ghana have the high probability of causing accidents, which areas. And then we will go there and determine what are the likely causes of those, and then we will supply the information to contractors, architectural design, and all those, roads and highways and all that.
So the construction of the road is a major factor?
It could be. I mean, if there's a water body, there's a sharp curve. You know, I am not a civil engineer building, but common sense would tell you that if a road is not constructed properly, it has a potential to cause us. Even knowing where to put, let's say, zebra crossing, is part of the science or the engineering of roads.
But you can also rule out the human factor.
Of course.
The kind of vehicles we have on our roads.
Of course, it's all part of it. It's a package. So we do our part. The Building and Road Research Institute, we do our part, and then we provide the data, and it supports. The police are involved, the MTTD, the feeder roads, and everybody is involved.
And you follow up to check if your recommendations are being implemented?
We do, because the nature of research is that you get the data, you prefer the suggestions and all that. And then maybe the next time you hear that maybe the accident wasn't at that same spot, but somewhere close to it, then you go back and you say, oh, maybe we missed that part of the data. Then you go back and you check and you improve upon it. So we do, yeah.
Okay. So briefly on the agri sector, and then we'll come to the endowment fund. I mean, I'm sure you've also been following the media reports about high prices of, food items on the market. And because you do a lot of work in the sector, I mean, how do you explain this?
Okay. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, all right.
Okay. So the first fundamental thing is that in Ghana here, our agric is largely rain-fed. So we know that we start, most of our farmers, especially in the forest region, they start clearing February, March, April, then we plant in April, and then June, July harvesting. And so because of that, during the dry season, most places where we want to have abundance of food year-round, that we should do irrigation. It's because we don't have this irrigation, our cropping and our food systems, part of it is that it's become seasonal. So you watch, I'm sure we all know, by August, September, there's so much food. Unfortunately, we might be discarding food, we might be throwing food away.
Because our storage facilities.
That's right. So it's all part of it. It's all part of it, yeah.
Professor, now let's come to the endowment fund. Why has it become necessary? Is it because government has refused to fund you? Now you are going out and asking people to help?
Well, generally, in general terms, in science and development activity, there are various sources of funding. You have some coming from government, you have some coming from donor agencies, some coming from private sector, and some come from philanthropists. Now, in Ghana, most of these areas of funding sources are really very limited because you are not getting funding from philanthropists, you are not getting from private sector.
Why so?
It's because the business is a little bit tight. Business is a little bit tight in the country, and also the culture of research in order to find solutions is also a little bit limited. And then the other source we may think is also the government. Now, as Director General said, the government provides our salary, he does some goods and services, but even though they have plans for funding research and development, that fund is not coming through. So because of that, we need to make sure as an institution that we need to carry out our research to meet our mandate. And what we need then is the financing. So because of that, we need to make sure, in fact, it's actually one of the vision of the Director General, so that we have made strides, but we need to move beyond where we are now. And for us to move to the targets that we want to go, we need finances, financial resources to push our research and development.
But Director General, I mean, for example, in terms of budgetary allocation, how much was proposed for you in the budget? How much has been released? And is it a case that is woefully inadequate for you to carry out your mandate?
Okay. So first of all, I don't have the figures in my mind, but what I know for sure is that our salaries, we receive them 100%, whatever it is, whether it's small enough or more than that one, no problem. It is the money that we need for what is usually classified as goods and services, which would also include the money that we actually need for our operations and also CAPEX, maybe acquire equipment, vehicles, and all. Those ones are a challenge for government. I don't think we are even getting 5% of those that we submit to government year on, year out. So you can imagine, not
even 5%, no, almost like zero.
Yeah.
Then how are you operating?
Yeah, so that's where IGF comes in. So, in 1996, our act was amended to allow us to commercialize research, which we do, and which, thankfully, we are able to generate some funds. But let me borrow your woefully inadequate because you know the payment of utility bills alone and fuel and maintenance of equipment and all that, besides the actual money that should go into the research, the travel, the experiments. So we really need, but let me quickly add that we are creating this endowment fund because we need support, we need sustainable funding. But from what we know globally, the practice is that even the most endowed institutions,
they still ask for more.
They have endowment. We are not, our case is not asking for more in the sense like we have more already. No, we don't. But what I'm saying is that most of the institutions, they have endowment fund. To touch on what Prof was saying, we don't have a culture where people will support, research. In other cultures, people would support research, people would support academic institutions and all that. We think that this perhaps is a springboard to conscientize our people. Industry, there are places where industry actually pumps in money into research. They support training of scientists, they buy equipment, they push in cash to support, and then research in turn will then support industry. That is what we are calling for.
But the question is, if for example, government budget to give you 100 million cedis for a year, and then only 5% is released to you. I mean, it brings the question, the value government place on the work you do.
You are saying that. I mean, it's true. I'm just saying that that is the challenge that we have. Government should open its eyes and pay attention to research. It's not...
Because without it, I'm failing to see how we'll be able to solve the problems we have.
Exactly. We are in a system where we want... I put in 100 million, and then next month I'm seeing bountiful results. But research is not like that. I once heard somebody who said that the research of today is for tomorrow's product, because it takes time. It may take some months, may take some years, but the countries that have gone ahead, if you would permit me, let me illustrate something. We are all using microwave ovens in our homes, even Pampers. My understanding is that these were developed in the 60s for the space programs. So for a long time, even cell phone and computers, they were there so many years ago. And then they were used under controlled environment, and now the public, the rest of the world, we are enjoying it. But at that time, it was for research, it was for high-tech research, technological development. So there are a lot of things that we are doing or we may be doing today that may not necessarily show that you can clearly show that this is the outcome. But then maybe 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, we would all see the benefit. Think of secondary school photosynthesis, water plus carbon dioxide and sunlight, in the presence of sunlight, producing, for you to answer, producing starch. Now we are talking about carbon sequestration. And that is the equation that we have known years ago. So support the system and then we can,
So I'm just reading through and I'm asking myself, so in the absence of your IGF, then it will be difficult for you to make any meaningful progress.
Talk about donor.
No, well, there's also, when I was saying the streams of finance, the other aspect is also donor. But the donor is now very much, competition is very high. Because if donor put a call, it's open to the entire world. Of course. So everybody
you have to write a very convincing proposal.
Very compete. And also, some of them has caveat. So even the main source is going to be the people from their country. And there are some they put out, it's limited to your country. So the other sources are very much limited. So we also have streams of finances through the donor-funded project. But now there are certain specific things that are more of country-oriented. For instance, there are technologies that CSIR have developed over the years. With this technology, we need to do the transfer of these technologies. And it doesn't just happen. You need finance, even if you are not going to charge anything at all. People still need to move to the place. There are some people who really need the technology, but they don't have the financial basis. So that is why we want to carry this to them, because we want to enhance the use of these technologies for the development, in fact, on communities. In fact, we have in our mind in a situation where we have enough funding, I can say that community A is deprived of A, B, and C. Can we deploy some of CSIR technologies to turn around the plight and the future of these communities? So these are some of the things that we are looking for to do. What about industry? We need also to help industry. So we need the finances. We need to develop new technologies we have the expertise we can develop. The technologies are already there. We need to transfer. And that is why we need this money to support. So that the poor, the women, the young people, that's what we call the social inclusion, can also be supported to enrich themselves. So all this is to support wealth creation by people in this country.
That's so I mean, this $20 million, and your strategy is to say charity begins at home. So for your workforce, everybody will contribute 1% of their monthly salary to this endowment fund. So what is it you propose, and all of them accepted, or you impose it on them?
No. It's not an imposition. The first thing we did was that we've been talking about this for at least over a year. You know, I was appointed Director General in 2022. And one of the things that I did was to go around all the institutes to share my vision. And so it was there that we are going to create an endowment fund. Before that, a year or two before, we launched a strategic plan. It was also there. So when we decided to take off, we had this committee with the director here being the chairman. We went round all the 13 institutes plus the head office. We sensitized staff. And then we told them that this one is not compulsory.
It's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
So if you don't want to contribute,
if you don't want to contribute, no. And so, but it was amazing. The feedback was massive. You know, everybody, I would say almost everybody was saying that this is long overdue. And then some were even saying maybe even 2%. Some made suggestions. And so we know that...
Your workers must be very rich.
No, they believe in what they are doing. They believe in the vision. They believe in science. And they know that they can trust that when they give us the money...
You put it to good
Yes. And we told them, there was one thing we told them. We told them that in every family, in every country, in every institution, somebody has to pay the price. Somebody has to sacrifice. So this kind of statement went into them. So they all realized that they have to make sacrifices. And so that is where we are working for. So to make sure that nobody thinks that we have developed a consent form where each individual staff member would pick it, fill it, and sign, and indicate. We've set it at 1%. We get 2% and 5%. Stop. But you do the 1%, and then you indicate we have set 5 years as our target. If you want to do 3 months,
5, right.
We don't mind. If you want to do 1 year, if you want to do 10 years, so we've made it, we've opened it up. But still, people, and that's one option. We'll have another option where we are asking people to make voluntary contributions into the fund, and some people are doing that. We have decided that each institute would contribute a certain percentage of their net IGF into the fund, and directors have agreed to do that. We've asked scientists who get big donor projects. Sometimes they have allowances on the project. We have told them, and they have given us their word that all is voluntary, except perhaps the institute one where directors have control. So that is, we want Ghanaians and the rest of the world to know that we are not only saying things, but we believe in what we are saying.
And then the money that will go into the fund,
yes.
What exactly would that money be used for?
Yes, you want to?
Yes.
Okay, so as we said, the money, once we get this money, some of the most important thing is to develop technology, and it's going to be demand-driven technologies to support industries.
Right.
And in fact, that is why some of the time we are asking that the industry should come also our way to support it. So we look at the challenges within the industry, we develop a technology, and we'll help that.
And these are likely research that you will sell.
No, we are not going to sell. We are not selling at all.
We have some that will transfer also.
Some is transfer.
Yeah.
So that is why I would say help us and let's help Mother Ghana.
Okay.
So these are some, and then also want to establish incubation hubs, scientific incubation hubs. So we set this in various institutes. So then people who have business ideas, who need the technologies in order to enhance their businesses, they will come to this place. We are going to train them, provide all the resources that they provide, all the knowledge, all the technology they need in order to set up their businesses. Okay, also we want to look at communities. As I said, we want to look at developmental projects that will help change, enhance the living of communities, and if possible, turn around the fortunes of communities. We also have some that we're going to use in terms of helping develop, science, capacity building of some of our scientists and even administrators, so that we can develop their capacity in specific areas that will enhance the progress of the CSIR. And sometimes there are certain technologies and projects that have already been done but has been truncated. But we know that these are very impactful projects. So it will also support these projects so that it will help build the wealth creation and socioeconomic development of the country.
Let me give Director General the final word on this. So, I mean, we are looking at corporate Ghana, members of parliament, everybody to contribute to this fund. Yeah. Is it going to be, you're going to call on them individually in their corporate offices, sell this idea to them and get them to contribute to this?
So that is one of them, calling on them too. But we also, we have this from now till about the 5th of July, we have a lineup of activities. So one of it is what we did yesterday, where we launched the logo and then we launched the fund. And fortunately, thanks to multimedia, you've brought us here to talk about that. On the 26th, we are having a float in Accra to let Ghanaians, more of Ghanaians, get to know of what we are doing. And then the first week of July, we're going to have a series of activities throughout the week. So we have a workshop, a seminar on the African Scientific Renaissance Day celebration. And we are doing that. We've invited the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. We are hoping he can make it. And so with that, and then we also have international organizations. Ghana, CSIR is a member of what we call the World Association of Technological Research Organizations. And they are coming here to have an annual board meeting. So they are going to help us talk about their experiences. And then from the 1st July to 3rd July, we are having an exhibition at CSIR Water Research Institute near Academy of Sciences. And we want to display all our technologies and products together with others. And one of the things that we will be doing that I think the public should know is that we want to offer some of our technologies that we have developed to the public. We're going to train them. So if you want to know more about, for example, snail farming, you can come there, and we have officers there who will explain. If you want to know about mushroom farming or aquaculture. So from 1st to 3rd July, we have opened up. And then on the 5th of July, which is a Friday evening, we have a fundraising dinner. And I'm inviting you specially to that dinner. So fundraising dinner at Labadi Beach Hotel to raise funds. But then, that is the launch. Like you said, we'll be visiting companies, parliamentarians and everybody to ask them to support.
All right, Director General of the CSIR, that's the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And of course, the chairman of the planning committee, Professor Michael Say. Thank you so much for passing through, and we support this initiative, because research, of course, That's the only way we can solve societal issues. Without it, then we are just, developing blindly.
Yeah.
All right, so folks, that's our discussion on the CSIR, but also of so importance to this country is the fact that today is only day 3 of the strike by the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union, and already public health facilities are gradually crumbling to laboratory services because they are suspended. The strike has had a particularly severe impact on Ghana's largest reference facility, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, leaving many patients, including pregnant women, children with cancer, and those requiring urgent blood transfusion, stranded and without care.
I'm here to take a lab, but I hear that the lab technicians or the central lab is closed. They are on strike, so I'm not able to do the lab. Meanwhile, it's the doctor who asked me to do the lab. So I'm supposed to see a doctor. So as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about how I have to wake up early in the morning and reach here before 6 o'clock and how to take care of my children as well. But if in case the lab is in a good condition like today, I'm supposed to take the scan. So I'm appealing to the authority, those that are in charge, to help them solve their issue so that we can also be happy. Because in my condition, all the way from La Paz, New Market to this place, I'm pregnant and I'm tired. The walking, sitting in the car, the movement here and there, it's very difficult to reach here.
I'm here to see the doctor and she gave me some labs for me to bring them to her. Okay. But when I get to the laboratory, it has been closed.
Okay, so what did you come to see the doctor about?
It's about my health. They said my sugar level was too high, so they gave me a lab test to run.
And you are also pregnant?
Yes, please.
Okay, so that makes it very dire for you. You need it urgently?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you came alone?
Yes, please.
So do you feel too tired to move?
I'm tired, that's why I'm in the chair.
Okay, meanwhile there's no one at the labs to help you?
Yes, please.
What are you going to do now?
I have to go to maybe the private lab to do that. But for them, I'm very, very tired, so I'm having some rest. So later in the day, I'll go and do them.
Well, at the University of Ghana Medical Center, the main laboratories have ceased operations, leaving only a small mini lab functioning. The mini lab intended for patients already in recovery is now inundated with new cases as stranded patients flock to it for assistance. The increased demand is placing tremendous pressure on the limited resources available, straining the facility's ability to provide adequate care.
Things are moving on smoothly because apparently I came in yesterday and then I heard of the strike yesterday when I came in. There were lots of people here, so I got scared. So I went home and then someone told me that UGMC is handling things for me, so I should come in today. So I came in and as expected, I'm being taken care of as smoothly as even if the labs were in. So, yeah.
I was here around 6:30 exactly. I went to Cadro, and then they sent me to the lab, the other one, and the main lab. They said they are on strike. So it took me about 3 hours to wait to get another lab here, which is different lab for the main lab itself. So I came and I'm waiting for the lab technician to come and attend to me. They are working all right. I think the main lab also, they are faster than here as well. I don't know whether because of the strike, that's why here is become slow or it's not fast like the other side. I think they are working.
But the situation is no different in the central, northern, Ashanti, and other regions. But as the strike bites hard, there appears to be no clear progress on talks to resolve the grievances of the striking lab technicians or professionals, as the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission described the strike as untenable, unnecessary, unfair, and unjustifiable. They have a statement. They've been talking about their feelings towards this. So the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, they say that this position of the union is inaccurate. Negotiations have progressed steadily, and the parties have reached consensus on 29 out of the 39 items submitted by the union. So only 10 outstanding. It was concluded in last meeting on 31st May 2024 that parties engaged their principals to meet on common grounds. A notice of strike, according to the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, is therefore untenable, it's unnecessary, it's unfair, it's unjustifiable. NLC, that's the National Labour Commission, is already seized with the matter and has given directive in respect of same, and for which the parties are to report back to the NLC on 20th June, that's tomorrow, 2024. So, in the studio with us is the first vice chairman of the Medical Laboratory Professionals Workers Union, Dr. Franklin Ni Amate. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So first, let's start from the hospital. I mean, what your strike is doing to people that require urgent medical care. Because you are not at post, they are left stranded.
I think that as a human being, I am also extremely disheartened by the turn of events. But what you see is an outburst of a frustrated people called the medical laboratory professionals. I think that the last time I was here and we were having the conversation, I made a point and I was so much hopeful that duty bearers will rally around quickly and treat us as essential caregivers. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and we are where we are today. And so, sadly, that is the situation on the ground. And my apologies to the ordinary Ghanaian who had to bear the grudge of the frustration of the medical laboratory scientists.
So their pain will not get you to reconsider your decision until your demands are met?
Well, the point must be made that a frustrated medical laboratory professional is a time bomb at work, and we should also be interested in that. The decisions we take can have dire consequences on the patient if due diligence is not applied. And so we need to be also sure that the medical laboratory professional who put on the job is in the right frame of mind to deliver.
And so, since you are not at work, it's making the work of the doctors even more difficult because they are unable to fully diagnose whatever is wrong with their patients, meaning that they can't make any progress beyond what you are supposed to do.
Exactly what it is. The health sector, we are so much, our functions are so much interplay, it's so much intertwined that in as much as sometimes we claim the independence of professions, we are so much independent that without one cannot function effectively. That is what it is.
So, where are we now? The Fair Wages Commission says that this strike is unjustifiable, it's untenable. You submitted 39 items, they've dealt with 20 now, the living 10, and therefore you have no justifiable cause to be sitting home and not working.
What the Fair Wages and Salary Commission has submitted is a palpable shenanigan.
Meaning what? It's not true?
It is something that is carefully crafted to give them a good face. We are scientists, and so we are critical. We look at content properly. Do you know when this letter was dated? The letter was dated on the 5th of June.
This press release that came just today?
The letter that I saw, the evidence on it is 5th of June. Go and check.
This was way before you even signal your intention to go on
So
strike.
we indicated, not way before, we indicated that we will embark on this journey on the 3rd of June. What it means is that they took cognizance of what we submitted to them. We gave them a copy. In fact, we wrote to them. And they are saying that they responded to this letter on the 5th of June, but we were not copied.
2 days after you had embarked on the strike.
So we are now, this letter is now surfacing after we have embarked on the strike. And they are saying that this letter was written on the 5th of June. And go and look at the content. We that had issues and wrote to you, we were not even copied. They copied the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, and Ministry of Health. And so what it means, that all these duty bearers sat aloof and did not even request for a meeting with leadership to resolve the issues. So Ghanaians, you can see the duty bearers are the ones that have failed all of us, and we are seeing what is on the
But they're saying that they've made inroads. They've resolved 29 out of the 39 concerns that you have.
Well, I am tempted to use this phrase, and I have to use it. That is a lot of nothing.
I don't understand.
Why am I saying that? These are conditions that we already enjoy. And so at table, when it is about conditions that we enjoy already, largely category 2 and 3 allowances, fine. And when it is to be paid in the IGF, fine. As in our previous conditions of service, we were entitled to a certain 13th month salary. How many laboratory professionals benefited from same? Because it is subject to the availability of funds. And so when you have conditions of service that should come from IGF, respectfully, it is a lot of nothing. And so they were conveniently passing those ones. And when it got to where they needed a financial mandate from Ministry of Finance, it was not forthcoming. And you could see the difficulty. They come to table without nothing. Now, to prove to you that they were deliberately doing something untoward, they submitted in that letter that we can concede that after our engagement as National Labour Commission, they were working on things expeditiously. No, it is not true. It was at that point that they would come to meeting and feast time at 2 p.m. Scope of work that could be done from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. if we are meeting is not the same scope of work that we could have done from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and largely, mostly 5 p.m.
So therefore, you are saying that you guys have been always ready for this negotiation.
That is what our people have voted us into office to do.
And yet you are not getting the same response from Fair Wages and the other parties that are to partake in this discussion.
The other day I indicated also to you that at table, you need representatives from Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health to take important decisions. Ministry of Health will submit junior officers who do not have capacity to commit the ministry. And they come, and when issues come to the fore that we need to deal quickly with it, they say they want to consult their superior. Ministry of Finance will not also be present. The Fair Wages and Salary and Commission will front for them and say they are now going to consult and see if they can get a certain mandate.
And that's why you say that they've shown so much disrespect to your plight.
And so their comment is untenable, reasonable. It's already infuriating the rank and file.
So, is it the case that only 10 issues are outstanding? And what will get you to call off the strike?
Well, so even the 10 issues that are outstanding, I'll be completely unreasonable if I say that all should be extended to us. In negotiation,
you win some, you lose some.
Trade something for something. Some of the things we are willing to trade for the things that are very core and essential.
Like what?
So, you see, here I am accusing others of breaching, and so you can see the Fair Wages and Salary Commission, being masters of the game, did not go on the straight tangent that the Ministry of Health went, and they were mentioning uniform and things like that. You don't do that. Okay. It violates the rules of negotiation.
But tomorrow you are ready to meet the NLC?
Well,
according
tomorrow,
to the statement from the
we are a law-abiding people.
So you honor that
Of course,
meeting.
we sure are.
And you will be
we sure are, because what has happened, they should empathize with leadership, because it's something that has been pent up over a period and it boomerangs in our faces. We have been engaging our people, but they say, my brothers, if you do not have something in hand, don't come to us. The other day I told you how some of them are accusing us of doing some untoward and something going under the table here and there. My hands are clean.
If you're in leadership, you will face some of these as well.
Of course, it's leadership.
Manny, thank you very much. We'll follow this through. Tomorrow we'll follow the meeting with the NLC. The hope is that you call off the strike so that those who are suffering for no fault of theirs will have the needed care that you provide them.
I pray so, because the whole thing has been very disappointing. though not surprising.
Okay.
Sure.
Ni Franklin Nama is vice chair of the laboratory technicians, and they are on strike, and they say they only call off when their demands.
My people will not be happy if you call us technicians. So.
Okay, professionals. You are
medical laboratory professionals.
Medical laboratory professionals.
Compares.
My apologies. All right, so folks, before we go, Dean of the University of Ghana School of Performing Arts, Professor Kojo Gavoa, has urged EWES to maintain the traditional essence of the Bobo General, cautioning against excessive innovation that incorporates foreign elements. Speaking at a Bobo Symposium at the University of Ghana, he emphasized that such changes could erode the unique cultural identity of the dance. There's more in this report.
Bobo, a traditional Ewe genre of music and dance, has undergone numerous innovations in recent years. To make it more relatable to diverse audiences, elements from other cultural beats have been incorporated into Ewe music. However, some patrons caution that those blending other genres with Bobo should take care not to dilute its unique identity.
At first, the Bobo music in general, how it is now, as everybody observed from the very beginning, it was not like that. A lot of things have been added to it. But the question is, what we are adding, are they helping us to preserve our culture? For example, as I said, I'm talking about the drums. Nowadays, there are some kind of drums you hear, and those type of drums and beats are from the Adowa or the Palongo rhythm, which we are introducing into Bobo. The question is, where do we want to send Bobo to?
Dean of the University of Ghana School of Performing Art, Professor Kojo Gavoa, has urged EWES to maintain the traditional essence of the Bobo genre, cautioning against excessive innovation that incorporates foreign elements. He emphasized that such changes could erode the unique cultural identity of the dance.
Our belief systems are embedded in the music. We also use it to mourn. Or they are going to bury people, and then we are mourning. It's like, oh, I'm by the graveside by myself. What would I do again? We have all those songs in there. So when we abandon that kind of creativity, and we start singing Yesula Wekoko, no more Alabanyo Kokoko, it's Yesula Wekoko. Where are we going as a people? And then I already mentioned how our singers have stopped composing, and they are just lifting, even if they don't perform it in church, the secular performers still lift songs from the every hymn now and sing. Okay? And then we say Bobo. And it is changing the dynamics of Bobo altogether.
Despite inevitable innovations in traditional music, locals are urged to preserve the fundamental traditions to prevent their music from going extinct. Adobia Asari's report, read to you.
And on that Bobo note, we end today's edition of The Pulse. For more stories, log on to our website, manjoonline.com. Stories on manjoonline.com. Branded Champon dares Ablakwa to prove that Rock City Hotel is incurring losses. Opoku Prempeh leads an MPP's choice of running mate for Baumia. Of course, celebrities can promote alcoholic drinks. Supreme Court upholds the FDA ban. Folks, that's our show for today. We are back tomorrow, same time, Thursday. We'll take it easy here on The Pulse. But whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Robe. Stay tuned to Joy News. We have Let's Talk Showbiz up next on your television. Enjoy your evening and take care.